One idea can turn your life around, deciding that you're going to focus and develop your skills. There was a guy who became the new owner of a baseball team, a team that was in the basement of the league. When he took it over, he went to the pitcher and asked, "What is your best throw?" The pitcher said, "Well, I've got a good curveball and I've got a good fastball," and went on talking about his different throws. The owner interrupted and asked again, "But tell me this, what is your best throw?" The pitcher thought for a moment and said, "I've got a good fastball." The owner said, "That's all I want you to work on, nothing else. Just develop your fastball." The next year, that team went to the World Series. Most people don't know what their fastball is. Most people go through life never discovering what their talents are. Most people never develop their talents. They have skills and abilities, but if you don't nurture them, if you don't develop them, they will never serve you. Your gifts can take you many places, but only if you develop them. Most of us don't like to do those things that come easily to us. I've always loved to talk to people. I decided after taking this advice to develop my skills as a speaker, and as I developed my gift, it took me places I never imagined. You have something that you brought to the universe. If you decide that your life deserves the development of what you do well, becoming the best at it, mastering yourself and exploring what you have within you, then if you drop your buckets where you are and develop your gifts, I guarantee you will never be without. Your gifts will take you places that will amaze you. If you begin to work to develop your gifts, you will gain a strong sense of happiness. You'll get a larger vision of yourself, because part of beginning to see a larger vision of yourself is having a feeling of competence in some area. Like, people will know when they think about that area, that's something you excel at. Has anyone ever seen something in you that you didn't see in yourself? I didn't see it in myself. Maybe that's why my favorite book says, "Eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor has it entered the heart of mankind what God has in store for you." Because of what he saw in me, he inspired me. He gave me a vision of myself beyond my circumstances, beyond my mental conditioning, and beyond the job I was in. I thought I was just a disc jockey. I loved it. I mastered the microphone. Drop me in any city and I could turn it upside down with a microphone. But I had more in me than I was expressing, and I didn't know it. Because of his encouragement, I became a community activist. Because of his encouragement, I started doing a talk show called Voice of the People. Because of his encouragement, when I left radio, I ran for the Ohio legislature and I was elected. Because of his encouragement, I passed 14 bills in my first term. Because of his encouragement, I was elected 3 times and became chairman of the Human Resource Committee. Because of his encouragement, I became a public speaker. Because of his encouragement, I became an author. Because of his encouragement, I did a show for King World called The Les Brown Show. They paid me $5 million, $2 million just not to speak. Because of his encouragement, I produced specials for PBS, even though people said, "You can't do that. You don't have a college education, and PBS is educational television." Because of his encouragement, I did so many things I had absolutely no idea I could do. I encourage you to live full and to die empty. There is more in you right now than just working a job where they pay you just enough to keep you from quitting, and you work just hard enough to keep from getting fired. When you make the decision and identify the key area of your life where you need to make a radical change, things will begin to open up for you. Here's something else that's very important. Once you identify your goal, get a visual picture of it. My major goal was to buy my mother a home. I got a picture of the home. It had a 12-foot swimming pool, a basketball court, and it was on a golf course. I bought that home for her. It cost just over $400,000, $10,000 square feet. I had that picture long before I had the money or the down payment to get it. My goal was to be known nationally and internationally as a speaker. I wrote that goal down on a card. On one side I wrote, "Ask and it shall be given. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened." On the other side I wrote, "I am the world's #1 orator." I produced that result in my life. I had a goal of becoming a talk show host. I used to watch Phil Donahue and put my picture on the TV screen as I listened to his program. I visualized myself there. Eventually King World Productions called and I had my own talk show. It became the highest rated, fastest canceled talk show in television history. Here's something else. You will fail your way to success. Trust me on that. You'll have a lot of failures and disappointments, but you will fail your way to success. Goethe said, "That which does not kill you makes you stronger." 85% of people allow their fear of failure to outweigh their desire to succeed. That's why you have to be of good courage. You have to have courage when life knocks you down. I have a saying, try to land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. Once you've decided on the goal you want, put it on a treasure board or goal board with pictures of it. Look at it every day when you wake up in the morning and before you go to bed at night. Program your subconscious mind, because 9 out of 10 decisions you make will come from there. I used to do door-to-door sales. It's punishing cruel and unusual punishment. I'd knock on doors saying, hello, would you like to buy a nice working television set? No money down, bam, they'd slam the door in my face. I remember one friend of mine working with me who had a door slammed in his face. He looked at me and said, I can't do this. He sat in the car and told me, you go ahead. I'll be here when you get back. He had a mother and father to take care of him. My mother was ill, I was adopted, and I was hungry. I had to keep going. I learned something about myself. When you step into your fears, Winston Churchill said, courage is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. When you step into your fears and push yourself to keep going, something happens. You transcend yourself. I went to the next door. Would you like to buy a nice working TV? Bam. After a while, I no longer took it personally. I turned it into a game. I said, I know there's a yes out here somewhere, and I'm not going home until I find it. I kept knocking. Eventually someone said yes. I'd ask, are you sure? And I'd make the sale. When you have something you want to do, keep pushing. If you don't develop the courage to do that which has been given to you to do, and you spend a lot of time going around trying to convince other people, trying to get their approval, what will happen is that you will lose your nerve. Other people will convince you that what you're doing doesn't have any value, and you'll give up on your dream. It's an interesting thing about life. I've also found that if you don't have the courage to act, sometimes particularly if you have something special to do, life will move on you. Abraham Maslow said that life is about growth. He said you could either go back to your comfort zone where you won't find any growth, or you must willingly go forward and face your fears again and again and again. You're never going to have a fear-free existence. I mean, some fear is acceptable and legitimate. There are some things that you really should be afraid of. Now, you shouldn't allow fear to immobilize you. You acknowledge it, take it into account, and carry yourself accordingly. There are times when we should proceed with caution, but there's a difference between being stopped by fear and having fear stop you. It's the difference between having fear and fear having you. So what do? One, acknowledge it and know that it's okay. Don't condemn yourself for being afraid. It's perfectly fine to have some fears. Acknowledge your fears, embrace them, and then move on. Act on whatever it is that you fear, because once you embrace it, see, what you resist will persist. What you resist will persist. One of the most important things is to begin to embrace your fear. So what we've got to begin to do is figure out how to handle that. What's the process? Because it's all up here in the mind. One thing I think is imagining the worst case scenario. Then I had another technique I used, visualize yourself being more than able and capable of handling it. I used to have a tremendous inferiority complex about speaking before people I felt had more going for them than I did. I'm not college trained, and I used to think that college-educated people were the most intelligent people on the planet. I felt I had nothing to say to them. Why would they listen to me? That's how I felt. So I had to visualize myself speaking before them, before various audiences who had more going for them than I did, and realize my own value. I had to appreciate that I was a worthwhile person, even though I didn't have it all together. I didn't have the money or the education they had. Part of the process is seeing yourself as worthy, capable, and having what you need to be a worthwhile person. You've got to know you're more than able and that you deserve to be listened to. You deserve to have that dream, that passion, whatever it is you see and envision. You've got to see it in your mind's eye and know that you've got what it takes. So decide, as you look at your life and into the future, ask yourself, what fears am I holding on to? What fears am I allowing to imprison me, keeping me from breaking out, keeping me from living up to my true potential? What's keeping me from being happy, from having a sense of adventure and excitement in my life? What's keeping me from controlling my destiny? What fears am I giving permission to hold me back? Notice what I said. We must give our permission to fear to immobilize us. Whenever discomfort you experience, whatever challenges or difficulties arise, you've got to handle them. You've got to go in there and wrestle with them. Will it be easy? No. Will it be challenging? Yes. The next step is to accept yourself and accept fear as a fact, not a force. When you accept yourself and accept fear as a fact, you understand it's something that happens, something you're going to experience, but it doesn't have to hold you back. It doesn't have any special power other than what you give it. Accept the fact that you are afraid and then move on. Move past it and do whatever you've got to do. When you're not filling your life with the things you're capable of doing, there's a void. We've all been given something to bring to this planet, something only you can do, something only you can initiate. If you're sitting on that gift, there are gaps in your life. And when there are gaps, we fill them with garbage, alcohol, drugs, worry, or self-destructive behavior. When you look at your life and know you're not doing what you can because fear is holding you captive, here's what I've discovered. In life, you'll go through things, and while you're going through them, you can't understand why they're happening. But after you get through them, you look back and say, oh, now I understand why I needed that lesson. You couldn't understand it then, but after you realize it was preparing you for bigger and better things. As you go through life's challenges, embrace them. Don't run from them. Step toward them. Don't duck them like most people do. Most people want life to be easy. But handling the hard things close at hand, making those tough decisions right now that you don't want to make, learning the things you don't like to do, those are the hoops you've got to flip through to get where you want to go. I'm saying to you, whatever you've got to do, do it. Because if you don't, life will whoop you until you surrender and say, okay, all right, I cooperate. I've learned. They had to wear me out for a long time. So if it's hard, then do it hard now. How do you hang in there during the hard, difficult times? Well, you must have faith. You've got to believe in yourself. You've got to believe in your abilities. You've got to believe in your service, your company, your ideas unquestionably. You've got to have faith, and that faith gives you patience. It's not going to happen as quickly as you want it to happen. A lot of things are going to happen that will catch you off guard, and so, therefore, you've got to deal with it and handle it as it comes. Not only that, but that faith and patience drive you into action. You've got to keep moving and keep plugging away. Some people, ladies and gentlemen, stop because they don't see instant results. It doesn't happen quickly. They stop. Oh, no, 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 no. You've got to keep on watering your dreams. When you're working at your dreams, somebody said, the harder the battle, the sweeter the victory. Oh, it's sweet to you. It's good to you. Why? See, when it's hard and there's a struggle, what you become in the process is more important than the dream. That's far more important. The kind of person you become, the character that you build, the courage that you develop, the faith that you're manifesting. Oh, it's something that you get up in the morning and look at yourself in the mirror, and you're a different kind of person. You walk with a different kind of spirit, and people know that you know what life is. You have embraced life. You know it was hard, but you did it hard. For us to begin to look at the future, know that it's possible that we can have our dream. Yes, it is. Other people have done it. Then we can do it. We fail a lot of times. Well, a lot of other folks fail, and eventually they came back and succeeded. So it's possible. We can have what we want, and we know that we want to get it. It's necessary that we align ourselves with people that think like we do. It's necessary that we get negative, do-nothing people out of our lives. It's necessary that we never stop learning, growing, and developing ourselves. It's necessary that we never give up. We know that it's you, it's me, it's being responsible for our stuff and deciding that we're going to keep on keeping on, that we're going to find a way to make it happen. And we know it's hard. It's not going to be a picnic. Yes, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. And we will do it hard. And once we do it hard and we go through it, we realize it was worth it. And once you discover it was worth it, it is done. Well, here's what I'm suggesting to you when you're working, you have a wall to break through. Let's say a friend of mine who runs marathons says, when he's running the 26-mile marathon, let's say, hypothetically, that the 18th mile is the wall. He said, Les, when you get there and you're running, everything in you is telling you to stop, to give up. Every muscle is aching, and you're saying to yourself, I can't do it, and you just keep on. You keep on, you keep on. It seems like you're moving in slow motion. Then eventually, when you break through that 18-mile wall, you know it's like done. You're on automatic, and you glide on in. You know you're going to get to the finish line. And we've all had experiences where we were working on something, and we knew it was possible, and we did those things that were necessary to bring it into reality. We took the responsibility to make it happen. All the people couldn't see it. A lot of people didn't believe it. You were attacked. You were criticized. People were opposing you, but you kept on doing it. It was hard. It was rough. It was difficult. but to you it was worth it. And eventually you got to a level where you said, nothing can stop me now. I'm on the move. Finally, I'm thinking about a friend of mine who is no longer operating on this dimension. His name was Jack Boland. He had this vision of a church that would serve various types of needs for people, supportive needs, helping them recover from drugs, alcohol, and whatever addictions they might be involved in. He was known for bringing in different kinds of speakers. Over a year ago, he was diagnosed with cancer, and he announced to his congregation that he was going to be taking chemotherapy with the possibility that the cancer would go into remission. He was optimistic about that, and sure enough, it did for a year. One of the things Jack always talked about is that he wanted to have his funeral while he was still alive. So he invited a few friends, Wayne Dyer, myself, and a few other speakers. He didn't tell us why we were there, but once we gathered there at the church, they told us in the room that Jack was going to announce to the congregation that he was bringing his doctor up. The doctor was going to say that they felt they could keep the cancer in remission, but it was out of remission, and he didn't have much time left. Whatever words you wanted to say to Jack, you were to say them now, as if he had made his transition. We were shocked and somewhat stunned until Jack got there. They brought him in a wheelchair. Boy, was he courageous, and he had a strong smile. They helped him up the steps, and he sat behind the podium. Each of us got up and said a few things about Jack and the impact he made on our lives. After the doctor announced that Jack didn't have long to live, Jack said, "I accept what you say, but it's possible that does not have to be the case. But if it is, I will enjoy life to the very last breath I take, even the chemotherapy. I will enjoy that." And Jack did, ladies and gentlemen. When they said that all of his vital organs were failing, they called his family and his close church staff to the hospital and said, "He's dying." So they came and gathered in the room. Jack, at that time, was unconscious. He gained consciousness and looked at them and said, with what strength he had, "I want to thank you all for being here. You've been a great staff to me." He looked at his sons and his daughter and said, "You've been a great family. Don't feel sorry for me. I'm ready to go. I'm looking forward to the next adventure." He sat there for a little while, laid back, and closed his eyes. He lost consciousness. About an hour and a half later, he opened his eyes and looked at them. He said, "This is embarrassing. I'm not dead yet." They were laughing through their tears. He said, "Hey, I hate giving up this kind of control." They predicted that Jack would die at the end of February, and then on the 2nd, they said, "He won't see the light of day. He will be dead by morning." Ladies and gentlemen, Jack died on March 4th. We believe that even in his dying, Jack sent his congregation a message that I want to give to you with his permission. March 4th is the day he died. And we believe Jack was saying, March 4th,